So going into 2025, we had already gotten what we thought was a lot done, but
Felt like a lot.
little did we know we were only beginning. And the four of us have never built a home. We've never done this process. So this entire thing for us has been a total learning curve. We're lucky to have a ton of contacts that are helping us through the way, but this process is taking significantly longer because we're trying to do as much of it on our own to save money and to learn how to do it. One of the first things we started to do in 2025 was finally burn. The vegetation had been dried out through the summer. We had finally gotten enough rain where the county opened burning back up. The first round of burning that we got to do was super exciting. We had massive piles of brush to burn. And so we definitely did 4x4 piles like we were supposed to per the county.
Absolutely.
And had a couple of really good burn days out here. I personally like the burn days because it's instant change. As opposed to the piles just sitting there or you doing wood chips that still leave stuff behind. We needed to start figuring out where our driveway was going to go and where we wanted to have an entrance. Lucky for us, Christine's dad has been in the grading industry for a really long time. And so his expertise and ideas he has for us has been so valuable. And so he suggested to utilize the easement that's already on the property to then use that as our entrance. The problem with that was when the easement was installed prior to us buying the property, the person that did it pushed all the dirt and rock onto one side all the way down the length of the easement. And so it was a super daunting pile of large rock and dirt that we had no idea what to do. And so we used her dad's excavator and ended up picking through all the rock and made this awesome rock entrance and didn't move any new dirt. We just moved the existing pile of dirt. And now we have this awesome rock entryway that we're gonna love when it's fully done, when we're actually living out here.
In early spring, we decided to start checking off some things on the county checklist. So fire sprinklers, solar, there's what seems like an endless list. So we started emailing, deciding on who we were going to start working with.
And like I said before, we're learning through this whole process. So we didn't really know what the best route to go with this was. Like, we didn't know what order to go. We didn't know if we should go to a structural engineer first. We didn't know if we should find contractors first. And so we just kind of winged it and are figuring it out as we go.
And that definitely has prolonged this journey, but we've definitely learned a lot along the way.
So going into springtime, we kept burning, trying to clear the land as much as we could. We had a couple big storms that ended up knocking over some trees, which just meant more cleanup for us. And then we knew it was time to find a structural engineer and start getting our plans really dialed in for the county. We ended up finding a structural engineer who also had a designer with him that dialed in our site plan. The county requires a ton of things for your site plan, and we had no clue how to do any of it. So our structural engineer came out, he confirmed our perk tests for our septic system so that he could do a septic design, and he confirmed our site so that he knew what kind of soil we were building on so that he could get his structural calculations roughly in the right area. We then had an arborist report where an arborist came out, he's technically a forester, came out and tagged all the oak trees roughly in the area of where we were gonna build the homes. El Dorado County is unique because they have an oak tree ordinance. They want to protect all the heritage oaks in the county. And so every tree bigger than 6 inches in diameter requires an oak tree report to be done on it. So that was a whole permit process in itself, came with a fee, and we ended up, I think, cutting down probably more than 50 trees. But because we're considered an oak woodland, it barely put a dent in the amount of oak trees we have here. So we got our oak tree report done. Our structural engineer got our plans and started dialing in our site plan so that we can move forward with the county. So after the oak tree report was done, obviously we had to do something with the trees. Kyle and I both have chainsaws. We grew up cutting firewood and doing that kind of thing. So there was no way we were gonna let somebody else come and do all that work for us. So Kyle and I did all of the tree work, cutting down the trees, processing it. We ended up renting some equipment so that we could move big chunks of the oak tree and put them in dump trailers and then haul that off to all of our family members. Every single one of our family members has a wood burning stove here in El Dorado County, and we plan on doing the same for our houses. So we had so many loads of wood to send off to all of our family members. I think every family member got at least 3 dump trailer loads of full chunks of oak.
Yeah.
And so that
Even my 91-year-old grandpa came out and was helping.
everybody got wood.
Yeah.
And it's really good quality oak too. So everybody's been super happy with the firewood they got. But that in itself was a massive job. And it also was one of the biggest transformations we had out here, where the property completely took a different look and you could really see where the homes were gonna end up going. Yeah, we ended up when we would cut the trees, we were informed by Christine's dad, who was gonna we were told by Christine's dad, who was gonna be doing all the stump work, to leave 3 to 4 feet off the ground so that he had some leverage to pull the stumps out once they got dug up. So after all the trees were cut, it looked kind of like the Lorax, where there was just a bunch
really
of
sad.
like 4-foot sections of the tree sticking up all over the place. The next step for us was to remove those stumps, which was a super exciting day because we got some really big equipment out here, and one of Christine's dad's friends came out and removed all the stumps for us and completely changed what the property looked like.
All while the oak tree removal work was being done, we were reaching out to general contractors. So we reached out to about 9 to get bids from them. Initially, we were not planning on going with a general. We were hoping to do the build all on our own, but I think we just didn't even know what we got ourselves into. So we ended up pivoting and going with a general.
Each contractor took about a month to get a bid back to us. It's a big job for a contractor, considering there's 2 houses to be done. Square footage of the 2 houses is really just like one big house, but the goal is to get both homes done simultaneously. So that required a really detailed and thorough bid from the contractors. So just finding a contractor was a huge process in itself. And I would say start from finish, like it took us 2 to 3 months just to figure out who was actually going to do our project. So after all the contractors got their bids back to us, there were a couple really high bids, there were a couple really low bids that were missing a ton of things, and then we had 2 or 3 bids that were really good bids, and we really liked the contractors. So that's really where the hard decision came. All the guys were really nice and really good people that we would probably want to work with, but ultimately it came down to one person that we decided to go with, and have been working with him since. So coming into like fall time of last year, we were really hoping to get our plans submitted to the county so that we could get the ball rolling on permits. But ultimately, we decided that with all the weather that had started to come, and because of our lack of knowledge on how this process works, we didn't realize we needed like official stamped grading plans. We still had a little bit more to handle before the time that we wanted to actually submit. So everything took a little bit longer, and we actually ended up submitting for permits early of this year in 2026. A couple months later than we had hoped, but we got everything in, and now we're actually right now waiting for permits to be finalized. We had somebody come out, another engineer come out and do all of our grading plans, and we're any day gonna be getting our grading permit, which means we can actually start all the dirt work. And then all of our house permits, our building permits, should be coming shortly later.
My dad came out and he was working on starting the grading. We staked out both of the houses to kind of see where they were.
Christine's dad brought out his laser grader as well and shot all the points of the house, and we kind of dialed in where we wanted final grade to be. It's kind of hard to imagine it just because there's actually not a house pad here, but We're just trying to figure out where we want the house to end up being. So we stood where we think our kitchen is gonna be and figured out what height we want that at, where when we look out that front window, we know what we're looking at. That was kind of a fun day where we actually got to kind of see where, when everything's done, what it might look like.
Yeah.
Looking back at everything that happened here in 2025, it's pretty amazing to see how much this property has already changed. There was a whole lot of hard work this year, clearing trees, burning piles, meeting with engineers, and slowly working through everything it takes to get ready to build. It hasn't always been easy, but there have been a lot of small wins along the way. And the best part is, we're just getting started. In the next video, we'll be sharing everything that happened here in the beginning of 2026.